No bride had crossed the family storehouse door in 18 years. Then Amma ran inside to save a boy from falling cocoa sacks. She pulled him clear as 3 sacks crashed behind them. A wooden box fell and broke open. Beads rolled through the dust, revealing 1 brass spacer and the blue thread repair Amma had watched her mother make. Abena's beads. Amma stopped breathing. When she was 10, she had watched Abena mend that same strand beside a cooking fire. Her mother had laughed when the blue thread refused to match the brown cord. A strong repair does not need to hide, Abena had told her. 2 weeks later, Abena disappeared. Now her beads lay inside a room no bride was permitted to enter. Some doors protect what is inside, others protect the lie outside. Amma closed her fingers around the strand. Put those down. Auntie Afia stood in the doorway with her iron keys pressed against her hip. She did not look at the frightened boy. She did not look at the fallen sacks. Her eyes fixed only on the blue thread between Amma's fingers. Kwame reached the doorway behind her. Amma, are you hurt? She shook her head. These belong to my mother. For 1 heartbeat, Afia's face lost all its strength. Then her hand tightened around the keys. You are mistaken. I watched her mend them. Afia ordered the child taken home. Then she drove everyone from the storehouse and locked the door herself. By evening, rain had darkened the family courtyard. Amma stood beside Kwame with the beads hidden inside her closed hand. Afia faced them. Your mother left those here because she stole from this family. Give them to me. Amma looked at her husband. Kwame's eyes moved away from hers. That frightened her more than the accusation. If Abena had been a thief, why had Afia kept her beads locked inside the family storehouse for 18 years? Amma's fingers tightened around the beads. If my mother stole from this family, why did you keep her beads? She asked. Afia's expression hardened. We did not keep them. They remained with the things she abandoned. What things? That is enough. No, Amma said. You called my mother a thief. That is not a small word. Kwame shifted beside her. The narrow scar across his thumb rubbed against his palm. Afia looked at him. Your wife entered a place forbidden to every bride. Now she stands in my courtyard questioning the woman who gave you work and a roof. She entered to save a child, Kwame said quietly. And now the child is safe. The rule remains. Afia held out her hand. Give me the beads. Amma did not move. Kwame stepped between them, not enough to challenge his aunt, but enough to stop her from reaching Amma. If they belong to her mother, let her keep them. Afia's eyes narrowed. Then she should keep them silently. Abena worked for this household. She was trusted with our goods, and she repaid that trust by stealing. Amma remembered Abena counting every market coin twice before buying food. The memory refused the word thief. What did she steal? Amma asked. Money. How much? Enough to shame her. And she left without her only child? For the first time, Afia hesitated. Then she turned toward Kwame. Teach your wife how peace is kept in this family. She walked away, her iron keys striking against one another. That night, Amma sat beside the cooking fire with Abena's beads across her palm. Kwame remained near the doorway, straightening the storehouse key on its cord. Amma watched his thumb pass over its iron teeth. When did the rule begin? Kwame did not turn. It has always been there. That is what Afia said. I'm asking what you remember. I remember being warned never to open that door for a bride. How old were you? He stopped touching the key. Old enough to understand a warning. Amma lifted the beads. Did the warning begin before or after my mother disappeared? Kwame finally looked at her. Fear moved across his face too quickly for him to hide it. I do not know what happened to Abena. That was not my question. Amma, we have been married for 12 days. Do not let a locked room turn our home into a battlefield. It was not the room that did that. She folded the beads into cloth and kept them beside her through the night. The following morning, Afia placed Amma outside the storehouse with a counting board. The household carried storm-dampened sacks into the sun. Amma counted as Kwame and the other men moved each sack through the doorway. Then a young woman from Afia's family walked straight inside with an empty basket. Amma lowered the board. I thought no woman could enter. Kwame kept his eyes on the sack he was lifting. She is a daughter of this family, so the rule is not against women. It is against brides. Why? Kwame carried the sack inside without answering. By midday, Amma had counted 43 sacks and one important lie. The storehouse was closed against women who had entered the family from somewhere else. She wrapped Abena's beads beneath her blouse and walked to the market. Kojo sat beneath a patched cloth shade, repairing a weighing basket. He had once carried cocoa for Afia's household. Ama placed the brass spacer where he could see it. Kojo's fingers stopped moving. "Did you know the woman who wore these?" Ama asked. His hand moved to the old rope scar around his wrist. "Abena should never have left those behind." Ama leaned closer. "I did not tell you her name." Kojo looked toward the crowded road. "You heard me wrongly. You knew my mother. I knew many traders. She was called a thief." Kojo gathered his rope too quickly. "Go home, Ama." "Was she a thief?" His eyes returned to the blue thread. Shame softened his face, but fear was stronger. "I cannot help you." He lifted his basket and disappeared among the traders. Ama did not see one of Afia's sack carriers leave the next stall and hurry toward the compound. If you believe a family rule should survive only when it can face honest questions, like this story, and share it with someone who would have questioned that locked door too. Ama returned before sunset. She had no witness and no answer, but Kojo had given her something he could not take back. He knew Abena. He feared Afia. And he believed the beads should never have been left behind. That evening, Kwame hung the storehouse key beside their sleeping mat. Ama looked at the key. The next answer was waiting behind the locked door. Kwame slept lightly, one arm across his chest. Ama waited until his breathing settled and the compound fires went dark. She told herself she would only look. The key came off its cord without a sound. At the storehouse, Ama covered a small oil lamp with her hand, turned the key, and slipped inside. The air smelled of cocoa, wood, and dust. The fallen sacks had been stacked again. The broken box was tied shut behind 2 weighing baskets. Inside were old cords, seals, and thin pieces of wood covered with tally marks. Most carried straight cuts in neat rows. One narrow tally was different. Its edge was rough, as if split from a matching half. Beside the straight cuts were smaller marks, arranged in groups of 4. Ama touched her thumb against 4 fingertips. It was how Abena had taught her to count. A strand of faded blue thread remained trapped in the wood. A foot scraped outside. Ama hid the tally beneath her wrapper and extinguished the lamp. The footsteps passed. She locked the door, returned the key beside Kwame, and lay awake until morning with the tally against her side. At sunrise, Afia entered the storehouse. Her shout brought the household running. "One record is gone." Kwame reached the doorway. "The door was locked, and you held the key." "I did not enter." Afia turned toward Ama. Cocoa dust marked the edge of her wrapper. Kwame followed Afia's eyes. Ama should have spoken. Fear sealed her mouth. Afia pulled the key from Kwame's cord. "Until the record returns, you will not count these goods or work inside this storehouse." "Auntie Afia, I did nothing." "Then your wife acted without your knowledge. That makes you careless instead of dishonest." The words struck Kwame before every worker who depended on him. He looked at Ama. She could not hold his gaze. "The shipment leaves tomorrow morning," Afia said. "If anything else disappears, both of you will answer for it." Ama had found a clue, but her silence had turned it into a weapon against her husband. When Afia entered the house, Ama hurried to the market and placed the tally before Kojo. His face changed. "Return it. Tell me whose marks these are." Kojo glanced toward the road. "Afia's carrier came before sunrise. He warned me that anyone answering questions about the storehouse would suffer." "What can she do?" "My daughter's stall is controlled by Afia's family. If it closes, my grandchildren lose their food." "My mother lost her name," Ama said. "I grew up hearing that she chose stolen money over me." Kojo touched the rope scar on his wrist. "The straight marks belong to Afia. The groups of 4 belong to Abena." "Why are they on one account?" "Because it was their account." The market noise seemed to fade. "Afia said my mother worked for her. Later she said many things." "Was Abena an owner?" Kojo pressed the tally back into Ama's hand. "There was another half. This half stayed in the storehouse. The market kept the other with its public records." "Come with me. I cannot endanger my family for yours." He lifted his basket and walked away. "You used my key." Ama turned. Kwame stood behind her, his face tight with anger. "I was going to tell you. After Afia accused me, I needed proof. You needed to trust me. You knew the rule began when my mother vanished. I knew they happened near the same time." "How near?" Kwame sat on an empty stall. I was 13. Abena stopped coming to the compound. That same week, my father said no bride could enter the storehouse. He said an outsider had nearly destroyed the family. And you never told me? I did not know the outsider was your mother until you found the beads. You knew enough to fear my questions. Kwame looked at the tally. If Abena owned part of that storehouse, Afia could lose it. My relatives could lose their work. We could lose our home. The sun was lowering. The record room will close soon, Amma said. Kwame remained seated. Amma started walking. After several steps, she heard his sandals behind her. The record keeper was fastening his shutters when they arrived. Amma showed him the tally and asked for the old partnership register. He opened a chest of aging account books. At last, he laid one before them. Afia's name stood beside one trading mark. Abena's name stood beside the other. Their shares were equal. Kwame gripped the table. Kojo had followed at a distance. Now he stood in the doorway. They were raised in the same compound, he said. Afia called Abena her sister before she called her a servant. Then why did she erase her? Amma asked. Ask what happened to the money. The record keeper pointed to a sealed cabinet. The matching tally half was inside, but only the market council could release it during a formal dispute. Afia's sack carrier appeared at the end of the road. He saw the open register and ran. She will know before we return, Kwame said. A market boy soon arrived with Afia's message. The shipment would not leave the following morning. It would leave at dawn. Amma had entered the record room seeking proof that her mother was not a thief. She walked out knowing Abena had owned half the storehouse. The question was no longer what her mother had stolen. It was who had stolen the storehouse from her. When Amma and Kwame returned to the compound, every storehouse worker was waiting. Afia stood before them with the key in her hand. This bride stole a family record, she announced. Now she claims her mother owned half of everything inside. If the market council seals our goods, none of you will be paid. Fear moved through the workers. A woman whose husband carried cocoa stepped toward Amma. My children eat because of those sacks. Is your quarrel with Afia worth their hunger? I am not asking anyone to go hungry, Amma said. Truth does not fill an empty bowl, Afia replied. She sent the workers away with orders to prepare the shipment before dawn. Their accusing looks remained after they left. Afia led Amma and Kwame into the house. Return the tally and the beads, she said. Tell the family you misunderstood what you saw. Kwame will receive his key again. You will keep your room, and this matter will end. Amma held her wrapper closed over the tally. What happened to my mother? Abena took money belonging to the partnership. She surrendered her share and left before the market could judge her. Then why did you say she was only your worker? Because the family had suffered enough shame. And why keep her beads? Afia's expression hardened. Some memories deserve a locked box. Kwame stepped beside Amma. If Abena surrendered her share, there should be a public record. There is. Then let Amma see it. Afia looked at him. Be careful. A husband who follows every question his wife asks may soon have no family left to answer him. She turned back to Amma. The workers will blame you when their food disappears. Return what you took, and I will protect you from that blame. Amma imagined the cocoa carrier's children waiting for a meal. She also remembered growing up beneath the name of a thief's daughter. I need time. You have until the first sack leaves. Outside, Kwame kept several steps between them. You should have told me before using my key, he said. I know. I lost my place because you remained silent. I know that too. He stopped. But if you return the tally now, Afia will bury your mother a second time. Amma looked back at the workers tying ropes around the loaded sacks. What if the council holds only the disputed share? She asked. The workers could still be paid before the ownership is decided. If the council allows it, we must ask before Afia makes them believe hunger is our only choice. Tell me in the comments, if exposing the truth could cost innocent families their livelihood, would you speak at once or first search for a way to protect them? Amma and Kwame reached the market record room before the night watchman closed the outer gate. The record keeper listened to Amma's request. A formal dispute can stop a shipment, he said. But the council may protect wages and hold only the disputed proceeds if the claimant asks for it. Then write that as my request. He prepared the notice and pressed the market seal into soft clay. The council will hear you at first light. Bring the storehouse tally. The archived half will be open before everyone. Word reached the compound before Amma and Kwame returned. Long before sunrise, Afia began moving the sacks. Amma heard cartwheels and ran toward the storehouse. Workers were carrying the first load through the gate. "Stop!" she called. No one moved. Afia came behind the cart. "You do not command my workers. I filed a formal dispute. You filed it too late. The first light has not come." Afia raised her hand, and the carriers pulled again. Kwame stepped in front of the cart. "If you move these goods now," he said, "the council will know you feared its records." The workers hesitated. Then the market bell sounded. The record keeper entered the compound with 3 council elders. Neighbors followed them, drawn by the argument. The eldest council member ordered the cart returned. Amma spoke before Afia could address the crowd. "I do not ask the council to close the storehouse. Pay every carrier what is owed. Hold only the disputed half until the records show who owns it." The workers began looking at Afia instead of Amma. Afia changed her attack. "She admits taking a record with a stolen key. Judge her theft before you judge my property." "I will answer for entering the storehouse," Amma said. "But first, let both halves of the tally answer for themselves." The hearing moved to the market weighing place. The record keeper opened the sealed cabinet and removed a narrow piece of wood. Amma placed her tally beside it. The broken edges joined perfectly. Across both halves, Afia's straight cuts stood beside Abena's groups of 4. A council elder opened the partnership register. "Equal shares," he declared. A murmur spread through the crowd. For the first time, Afia looked cornered. Then she reached inside her cloth bag. "You have seen how the partnership began," she said. "Now see how it ended." She placed a second record before the council. It stated that Abena had taken the partnership money and surrendered her entire share to repay it. Beneath the words was a dark thumb mark. "My sister fled before judgment," Afia said. "I kept the storehouse alive after she abandoned it, her child, and every person who worked here." The crowd became quiet. Amma searched the record for the counting marks her mother had always used. There were none. She looked toward Kojo at the edge of the gathering. He lowered his eyes. "Did Abena surrender her share?" Amma asked him. Afia's carrier moved beside Kojo's daughter. Kojo saw him. "I cannot help you," he said. The eldest council member studied the sky. "When the sun reaches the storehouse roof, the shipment will leave unless you can disprove this record. If you fail, the council will also judge how you obtained the missing tally." Afia smiled and pushed the surrender record toward Amma. The document carried Abena's name and what appeared to be her thumb mark. But it did not carry a single group of 4. Amma had only until the rising sun touched the roof to prove that her mother's final mark was a lie. The sunlight moved down the storehouse wall. Amma read the surrender record again. The missing groups of 4 had shown her where to look, but their absence alone would not prove a lie. She turned to the record keeper. "What date is written here?" He read it aloud. "Now show the council every entry from that day." The record keeper opened the partnership book. Near the bottom of the page was a payment equal to the money Abena had supposedly stolen. Beside it stood only Afia's straight mark. "Who requested this payment?" Amma asked. The keeper examined the entry. "Afia did." "Where is Abena's approval?" "There is none. A payment from a joint account should carry both marks." Afia stepped forward. "The keeper made an error 18 years ago." "Then compare the thumb mark," Amma said. On the first partnership page, both women had pressed a thumb into dark ink. The council placed Abena's verified print beside the print on the surrender record. The patterns were different. The surrender print was wider and carried a small break along one side. The record keeper searched Afia's later payment records. Her thumb mark carried the same break. A murmur rose from the crowd. Afia struck the table with her hand. "Old ink can spread," This proves nothing. Ama looked at Kojo. Each time the missing money was mentioned, he touched the scar around his wrist. What did the rope carry? She asked. Kojo froze. The scar on your wrist. What was tied to that rope? Afia's carrier moved closer to Kojo's daughter. The eldest council member saw him and ordered 2 attendants between them. No worker or relative will threaten a witness before this council, he said. Kojo looked at his daughter. Then he walked into the center of the gathering. It carried a money chest, he said. Afia ordered me to take it to a lender beyond the market. The rope cut my wrist because she demanded that I move quickly. Whose debt did it pay? Ama asked. Her husband's private trading debt. Afia's face lost its color. Kojo continued. Abena discovered the payment and demanded that the money be returned. She threatened to bring the partnership book before the council. Did she surrender her share? No. I saw Afia prepare that record after Abena was gone. Afia used her own thumb because she believed no one would ever open the old register again. The sun touched the edge of the storehouse roof. No one moved toward the waiting cart. Afia looked at the joined tally, the 2 thumb marks, and the workers watching her. My husband would have been imprisoned for his debt, she said. I meant to replace the money. So you called my mother a thief, Ama replied. She would not remain silent. I told her that if she accused the family, I would accuse her first. People trusted me. She knew they would not trust a woman with no powerful relatives. Why did she leave me? I told her that if she stayed, you would grow up as the child of a prisoner. She left to search for proof that the debt had been paid. Ama placed Abena's beads on the council table. And these? Afia's voice weakened. She gave them to me for you. She said I should give them to you when you were old enough to understand. Instead, Afia had locked the beads beside the records and built a family rule around the door. The eldest council member declared the surrender record false. Abena's half of the storehouse would be held in trust until she was found or lawfully declared dead. Ama would protect her mother's claim, but she could not sell the goods for herself. Afia kept her lawful half, but she lost sole control of the storehouse and its accounts. Every worker would be paid before any profit was divided. Ama then faced the council. I entered with a key that was not mine, she said. Kwame suffered because I remained silent. I accept judgment for that. The council ordered her to perform 2 days of market service and make a public apology to Kwame. It did not call her a thief. Ama turned to him. I wanted the truth, but I used your trust to reach it. I am sorry. Kwame nodded. Trust will take time, but silence helped Afia keep this secret. I will not help her keep another. The council corrected the market register before the gathered families. Abena's name was spoken as an owner, not a servant. The carriers unloaded the cart. The shipment would leave later under joint supervision, with every wage protected. Afia stood outside the storehouse she had ruled alone for 18 years. For the first time, the forbidden door remained open while a bride stood beside it. When the crowd dispersed, Kojo asked Ama to wait. He removed a folded strip of cloth from beneath the lining of his basket. A traveling cocoa seller brought this 7 months ago, he said. I was afraid to give it to you while Afia controlled my daughter's livelihood. Inside the cloth was a short message. It did not carry a full name. At the bottom were 4 small marks, drawn exactly as Abena had taught Ama to count. The message said, Tell my daughter I did not abandon her. When the road is safe, she must follow the traders toward the coast. Ama looked up, but Kojo had one more truth. The woman who sent that message called herself Abena. If you want to follow Ama as she searches for the mother who may still be alive, comment Part 2 and subscribe to African Folktales Emberhouse so you can find the continuation.